If you've made it this far, you're officially part of the story. Now I want to hear from you. Where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories travel. And if this twist-filled tale kept you hooked, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. A brand new story, just as wild, maybe even wilder, is coming tomorrow. You won't want to miss it. Until then, stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, some secrets don't stay buried for long. He tried to sell her inherited mansion, but had no idea who the real buyer was. It all started on a quiet Thursday afternoon, the kind of day where nothing seems out of the ordinary until everything changes. Emma Carter, a 38-year-old nonprofit founder based in the sleepy town of Westbridge, Connecticut, returned home early from a spa day her husband had insisted on. She had a migraine coming on, and something in her gut just told her to leave. The moment she pulled into the circular driveway of her 4,500 square foot colonial estate, she knew something was off. There, standing on the front lawn in designer heels and a sharp navy blazer, was a stranger, clipboard in hand, closely examining the home's detailed woodwork and brick facade, as if preparing for a sale. Confused but composed, Emma stepped out of her car. The woman turned and introduced herself with a confident smile. "Hi, I'm Madison Lane from Lux Properties. I'm here for the final walkthrough with our buyer." Emma froze. "Final walkthrough?" she echoed, keeping her voice level. "Yes," Madison said, glancing at her tablet. "Scheduled for 2 p.m., Mr. Carter confirmed it this morning. He said you'd be expecting us." Of course he did. Ryan Carter, Emma's husband of 5 years, had recently been more distant, more secretive. He'd started taking long phone calls behind closed doors, showing sudden interest in old documents from her grandfather's estate. And now it all made sense. What he didn't know was that the house wasn't his to sell. This wasn't just any home, it was a generational treasure passed down from Emma's late grandfather, Judge Franklin Reed, who had once served on the U.S. Court of Appeals. It had been in their family for over 80 years, nestled on a quiet tree-lined street and carefully maintained down to every original window pane and hand-carved staircase. When he passed, he left it, and the trust that protected it, entirely to Emma, along with a private fund for historical preservation and charitable use. Ryan knew about the house. What he didn't know was that the legal ownership remained locked behind a trust that required dual authentication. His name had never been on the deed. "I apologize for the confusion," Emma said smoothly, slipping her key into the door. "Please, come inside." She walked through the familiar threshold as Madison followed behind, clearly puzzled. As light spilled through the grand foyer's stained glass, Emma's thoughts raced. Why would Ryan do this? What had he told the agent? More importantly, how far had he gone? She needed answers, but first, she needed her lawyer. Because if Ryan was really trying to sell her house behind her back, he was about to find out that Emma Carter wasn't the kind of woman to sit quietly while someone dismantled her legacy. No, she had been raised by someone who taught her that power comes not from confrontation, but from preparation. And what Ryan didn't know yet was that Emma had prepared for this exact kind of betrayal. Emma's heels echoed across the polished oak floors as she led the agent deeper into the home Ryan thought he could steal. Every corner of the house told a story, stories Ryan clearly never cared to understand. The crystal chandelier above the foyer, the hand-woven rugs from her grandfather's travels, the custom library shelves that still held his legal journals. This wasn't just real estate. It was history. It was hers. "Let me make a quick call," Emma said with a polite smile, excusing herself into the study, the one her grandfather once used as his private office. She shut the heavy door behind her, locked it, and pulled out her phone. Her pulse quickened as she scrolled to the contact she hadn't needed in months, Natalie Brooks, attorney at law. "Natalie," she said the second the call connected, "we've got a situation." The voice on the other end didn't miss a beat. "Ryan?" "Worse," Emma replied. "There's a real estate agent here. She says she's doing a final walkthrough with a buyer. Ryan listed the house without my knowledge." There was a pause. Then Natalie's voice sharpened. He tried to sell the trust property? Emma, that's fraud. I know. I just didn't know how far he was willing to go until today. Natalie's fingers flew over her keyboard. Give me 10 minutes. I'll pull up the trust records and cross-reference with recent title activity. Emma exhaled, steadying herself as the antique grandfather clock ticked behind her. 10 minutes felt like forever. She looked out the study window just in time to see a sleek black SUV pull into the driveway. A woman stepped out, mid-40s, poised, carrying herself like someone who didn't waste time. The buyer's here, Emma murmured. Good, Natalie replied. You'll want to talk to her. 10 minutes later, Emma's phone buzzed again. Natalie was back, her tone urgent but calm. Emma, he forged your signature. I just saw the digital file. He submitted a falsified deed transfer using old notary records from your grandfather's files. Emma's jaw tightened. He went that far? Yep. But here's the good news, Natalie said, her voice dropping into the kind of tone lawyers use when they smell blood in the water. The trust your grandfather set up? It's ironclad. Any property transfers require approval from both trustees, you and me. I'm the co-signer, remember? Ryan never had legal access. Every document he submitted is invalid. A sharp knock came at the study door. Madison's voice called softly, Emma? Dr. Tran just arrived. Emma straightened her blouse, unlocked the door, and stepped back into the hallway. Thanks, Natalie, she said quietly, the fire in her chest now fully lit. Stay close. I think this just became a bigger story than either of us expected. Because if Ryan thought this was just a quick sale, he was about to learn the hard way, this house wasn't his to sell. And Emma Carter wasn't just a grieving granddaughter anymore. She was a storm, and it had just started to roll in. Emma stepped into the hallway just as the front door opened. The late afternoon sun spilled in, framing the figure who entered like a scene from a courtroom drama. Dr. Olivia Tran? Emma asked, extending a hand. The woman smiled politely, her grip firm and confident. That's me. You must be Mrs. Carter. Emma nodded, studying her. Olivia was in her mid-40s, effortlessly elegant, but clearly practical, tailored pants, clean sneakers, minimal makeup. The kind of woman who'd built her success on skill, not flash. Something about her presence was grounding, sharp. Like someone who'd been underestimated her whole life, and learned how to turn that into fuel. Madison, the agent, hovered awkwardly behind them. Dr. Tran was eager to see the garden. She's very interested in the landscaping details you, and your husband, preserved. Of course, Emma replied smoothly. Would you care to join me for a quick walkthrough? Olivia gave a small nod. I'd love that. They walked side by side through the house, the air thick with unspoken tension. Every room they passed, Emma's grandfather's study, the formal dining room, the sun-drenched conservatory, felt like sacred space now, violated by Ryan's betrayal. So, Olivia said casually as they passed through the library, how long have you lived here? Emma paused, running her fingers across a row of leather-bound legal volumes. Since I was 10. My grandfather raised me here after my parents passed. Olivia stopped beside her. Judge Franklin Reed? Emma turned sharply. You knew him? A soft smile tugged at Olivia's lips. He was my mentor during my residency. He wasn't just a judge, he was a visionary. He funded my first major research project when no one else would. Emma's breath caught. You're that Dr. Tran. The neurosurgeon who exposed the MedSure insurance fraud ring? The very one, Olivia said with a slight smirk. And I've been looking for this house for over a year. Emma blinked. You've been trying to buy my house? I sent letters. Left voicemails. Your husband responded each time, saying you were unavailable or out of the country. I started to think you didn't want to sell, until the listing popped up last month at a price that seemed suspiciously low. Emma's stomach turned. Ryan had intercepted everything. Every message, every call, every opportunity to protect her legacy, cut off at the source. But why this house? She asked. Olivia glanced around the library. Because it's not just a house. It's a symbol. Your grandfather didn't just invest in property, he invested in people. People like me. When I heard it was available, I knew I had to preserve it. Not flip it. Not gut it. Protect it. Emma's heart pounded. She looked at Olivia, this woman who had been part of her family's legacy without even knowing it. Maybe fate had stepped in at the perfect time. Dr. Tran, Emma said carefully, what do you know about real estate fraud? Olivia met her eyes, calm and razor-sharp. Enough to know when someone's about to get caught. Emma didn't waste a second. As soon as Olivia confirmed her suspicions, they returned to the study, shutting the door behind them. The antique lock clicked into place like the closing of a trap. Emma pulled out her phone and called Natalie. We need to dig deeper, she said, her voice low but urgent. Ryan didn't just forge my name, he intercepted every message Olivia sent about the house. She's been trying to reach me for months. Natalie was quiet for a moment. Then, Emma, I think it's time we pull his financials. All of them. And that's exactly what they did. Over the next few hours, Natalie's team worked fast, too fast for Ryan to cover his tracks. By the time the sun had dipped behind the treetops, a chilling picture began to emerge. Multiple offshore accounts, all under shell companies registered to names Emma didn't recognize, but they all traced back to one common thread, Reynard Holdings LLC, a company Ryan had set up 18 months ago in the British Virgin Islands. The kicker? He had also used Emma's foundation, the Reed Carter Trust for Medical Innovation, as collateral for at least 3 private loans, none of which she had ever approved. He's not just trying to sell the house, Natalie confirmed over the phone. He's been draining your foundation for over a year. Emma sat back in her grandfather's leather chair, stunned. Olivia stood across from her, arms folded, watching her closely. There's more, Olivia said gently, pulling up an email thread on her tablet. I've seen this before. The same pattern. Wealthy women, historic properties, philanthropic money quietly disappearing. It happened to a colleague of mine in Boston last year. Her husband managed her nonprofit accounts. She lost everything. Emma narrowed her eyes. You think this is bigger than just Ryan? I know it is, Olivia replied. This is a network. They started cross-referencing shell companies, matching up properties and foundations across different cities, Boston, New York, Miami. In each case, there was a woman like Emma, educated, wealthy, running a foundation or managing inherited assets. And in each case, there was a man, charming, controlling, who gradually isolated her from her financial decision-making, until the accounts were empty. By the time Natalie's team confirmed that at least 6 other women had filed similar legal claims in the past 2 years, Emma's stomach turned to steel. They're targeting us, she said quietly. Women with legacy. Women with power. But the kind they think they can manipulate. Olivia nodded. And they're getting rich doing it. Not anymore. Emma stood, her voice steady. We're going to expose every single one of them. Starting with Ryan. Olivia offered a smile, tight, focused, dangerous. Now you're speaking my language. And just like that, 2 women who were supposed to be victims became something else entirely. They became the hunters. It didn't take long for the house to change. Not physically, it still looked like the same stately colonial that had stood for nearly a century. But beneath its familiar facade, it was becoming something else entirely. A war room. Within days, Olivia and Emma transformed Emma's grandfather's old study into a command center. Whiteboards filled with notes, names, financial trails. Natalie's legal team worked from the dining room, and cybersecurity experts from Olivia's hospital patched in from laptops spread across the library table. The house wasn't just a home anymore, it was headquarters. And Ryan had no idea. While he texted Emma nonstop, excuses, deflections, half-hearted apologies, she said nothing. Not yet. She wanted every piece of evidence lined up. Every forged signature, every offshore transfer, every intercepted message. Because this wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about protection. The more they uncovered, the clearer the pattern became. Ryan was just one player in a larger, coordinated scheme targeting women across the country. Foundations were being drained, historic homes flipped, and philanthropic legacies erased, all hidden behind fake LLCs, stolen passwords, and loving husbands. They used romance as a weapon, Olivia said one night, standing beside the koi pond in the moonlight. But they underestimated one thing. Emma glanced at her. What's that? How dangerous smart women become when they connect the dots. And so, they began to connect them. By the end of the week, they had mapped at least 12 women in 6 different states with nearly identical stories. Some had already filed police reports, many hadn't. Fear, shame, confusion. It was part of the playbook. Isolate. Control. Disappear. Not anymore. Emma drafted a personal letter to each woman. She didn't lead with legal jargon or threats. She told her story, openly, honestly, and invited them to fight back. Within days, replies poured in. Phone calls turned into Zoom meetings. Victims became allies. A network was born. And at the center of it all, the house stood tall, no longer a target, but a shield. By the time Ryan finally showed up, storming into the front hall, disheveled and sweating, demanding to talk, Emma was ready. She met him in the study. You went too far, she said calmly, showing him the folder on her desk, evidence of everything, the fake loan applications, the shell companies, the diverted funds from her foundation. His face drained of color. And the best part, she added. This house? It was never in your name. You tried to sell something you never owned. And now, she smiled, cold and clear, you've helped us build something bigger. That week, the house was declared a historic landmark and officially registered as the headquarters for the Reed Foundation Security Alliance, a new coalition to protect women-led philanthropic organizations from fraud, manipulation, and financial abuse. Ryan came to steal her legacy. But in the end, Emma used his betrayal to build a fortress, one that would outlast them all. This story wasn't just about betrayal, it was about resilience, power, and turning pain into purpose. Now, I want to hear from you. What would you have done in Emma's place? Can you imagine coming home to find someone trying to sell everything your family built behind your back? Leave a comment below and tell me your thoughts. What part of this story hit you the hardest? Was it the forged documents? The offshore accounts? Or the moment Emma flipped the script and turned her house into a fortress of justice? And if you've ever experienced something similar, or know someone who has, don't be afraid to share. Your story might help someone else recognize the signs, speak up, or take back their power. Also, let me know where you're watching from. I love seeing where these stories are reaching people. Drop your city, state, or country in the comments. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Tomorrow's story might just top this one, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Because here, we don't just tell stories. We expose the truth. Together.